Hello, and welcome to How to Create a Scientific Poster. My name is Nathaniel Janik, and I am the Career Services Coordinator at the American Geophysical Union. And today I'm going to show you how to create a scientific poster in the program PowerPoint. Although Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, and Microsoft Publisher might have a little bit more functionality than PowerPoint does, I decided to choose PowerPoint for this tutorial so that more people would have access to the software that I was using. I also want to note before I begin that today I'm mostly going to be talking about form of posters and not necessarily content. I will point out some resources that you can use to get content, but the purpose of this tutorial is mainly going to be to demonstrate how to put together the bits and pieces that go into creating a poster within PowerPoint software. With that, I'm going to start by going over some simple things. First of all, when you put together a poster, you want to make sure that you have a game plan. What I mean by a game plan is, figure out what the different parts are of your poster that you want to have. Get all of those elements together, sketch out a layout of how you want to design it, where you want certain things to go. And if you do that ahead of time, then it'll be a lot easier to go through and actually put the poster together within a software. Number two is DRY, don't repeat yourself. So when you're creating a poster, there's a lot of different elements that are repetitive steps. You're adding a text box here, you're adding a header here. When I go through this, what I'm going to be doing is trying to chunk together different activities that happen during the process, and rather than repeating those steps over and over, I'm going to do a chunk of the process, copy that process, and then paste that process in over and over and over so that I have all of my elements together quickly without having to do the same step over and over and over. And then I'll take those copied elements and paste in the appropriate text for a certain section. What I mean by that is I'll create the introduction heading, I'll put the introduction text, I'll copy that, paste it, and then replace the introduction word with hypothesis and replace the introduction text with the text of the hypothesis section, and so on and so forth. Number three, I want to point out that remember that you're not a graphic designer, you're a scientist. You're not going to be able to do all of the fancy things that you might imagine. But that's not really the importance of this. The importance of putting together a poster is sharing and communicating the research that you've done. So you should always keep that in mind. You might not be able to make a perfect poster, but if you have a simple design, if you have a plan, if it's laid out correctly, it'll be easy to follow, easy to read. People will understand and get what you're trying to communicate, and that's far more important than having something that looks like it's created by a professional graphic designer. And that sort of leads into number four, more is less. You don't need to go crazy. This isn't your research paper. This is a poster. It's an abstract of your research. So keep that in mind as you're putting it together. You don't need to include everything. You're trying to include the high-level points that you're trying to make with your research. I also want to point here that for more tips, you can go to the Virtual Poster Showcase website. I'm going to go there right now and show you where some of this information is. So the reason why we're putting this video together is specifically to help with folks that are participating in the Virtual Poster Showcase this spring. It's too late now for you to join in, but these steps, these tips that I'm providing are going to be something that you can put forward on a variety of of conferences that you might be attending, such as fall meeting, that sort of thing. So I went to the home page and then I clicked on the upload button. This is where you can find information about the rules for Virtual Poster Showcase. Although this is specific to Virtual Poster Showcase, you always want to make sure that you're actually following whatever the rules are for the poster that you're submitting. For example, Virtual Poster Showcase, the poster must be in English. It has to be one page. You can't have multiple slides. You can't have animations so that it's just scrolling through. It has to be one set image, and that image has to be 48 inches as the maximum width and 36 inches as the maximum height. Now, so here in this page, there's some discussion about poster layout tips. There is some tips about poster design, and then there's also some other resources. I'm not going to click through these links, but you can see that there's a variety of articles that have been put out there on the internet, and these 5 that are here are really just, this is just the starting point. You can easily go on the internet and search how to create a scientific poster, and you'll find plenty of other articles if this isn't enough. So some of these articles are about content. So if you're looking for content tips, you can take a look at these. This Penn State University one, Design Examples and Templates, has some excellent templates and excellent tips on how to actually put your design together. Also, when you're putting together posters, it's good to look at some other posters that have been done in the past, especially at the conference that you're submitting to. So here on the Virtual Poster Showcase, you can get to past showcases to see some of the former winners, and I'll click on that so that we can see some of them. So here's a winner from 2016 spring, and this is actually going to be the poster that I recreate. So I'm actually going to exit out of all of this and start up with the process here. So as I noted, today I'm going to be creating a poster, and so I decided why not create an actual poster so that I'm not just putting out lorem ipsum text. So what I'm going to be doing is taking this poster that you see here, and I'm going to be recreating it from scratch in PowerPoint. Now, I've already gone through and grabbed all of the text and all of the images. You, of course, when you put together your poster, are going to have to put together all of this text yourself. But for the purposes of this activity, I've already gone through and grabbed all of the different elements that you see here. As I noted, when you're putting together your poster, you want to have a plan. I would show you a SketchUp, but this is essentially my SketchUp. This is what my poster is going to look like. I have all of my different parts: my introduction, my hypothesis, my methods, my results, discussion, conclusion, further research, references, acknowledgments, and so on. And so I'm going to create each of those different sections that are in my research and put them into poster form. It's always a good idea to include as many of the elements of your research as possible. You can see from this example that it's laid out in 3 columns. You don't want to make things too crazy with how you're laying your poster out. And so this simple design of just 3 columns is something that can work for you. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to start creating this poster. So I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to go to File and create a new blank presentation. Now, I noted earlier that that you want to make sure that you are keeping in conformance with your with the rules of the poster that you're submitting. So what I'm going to first do is I open it up. I've got my blank thing. I'm going to go to Design, and I'm going to go to Slide Size, and I'm going to go to Custom Slide Size. And so here I've got a slide size for widescreen. I know my maximum width is 48 inches, and I know that my height is 36 inches, and I'm going to hit OK. It's going to ask me how I want to scale this. I'm going to go to Ensure Fit. All right, so now I have this in the right size. So I don't want to have this title, and I don't want to have this subtitle. I want to have all of the different elements that I should. So I have a blank canvas here, and I'm going to start by inserting a shape. I'm going to insert a rectangle at the top so that I have a space for my heading, my title to go. So I have that in there now. Now I'm going to go and insert a text box so that I can actually put my text there. I'm going to open up. I've got my text laid out in a Word file so that I can easily copy and paste this. And I'm going to paste it in. Now you'll see, oh, it's really small because this is trying to base this off of the size that we have. We're 48 inches by 36 inches, so if you have font that's 10 point, it's going to be super small. So I made this a little bit bigger. I'm going to center it. Underneath this, I'm going to put Jane Doe from College University. Now, I don't want Jane Doe's name to be the same size as the title. Although it's important to highlight yourself as a researcher, this should of course be a little bit smaller. All right, so now I've got that element. I'm going to select this box, and I'm going to select the text and drag the text. Drag the text up a little bit. Having trouble here, so I'm just going to do this with the cursor. Move that box over top of there. All right, so now I have my title, and I have the name of the person who is presenting this. Now I'm going to start putting in all of my different elements, starting with the introduction. So I'm going to once again insert a shape, and once again that shape is going to be a rectangle. So here we are. I'm going to make it a different color. I'm going to make it a slightly lighter shade of green than what my title was. I'm going to then insert another text box. Go back and grab my introduction. Paste it in there. Select it. Make it bigger. And go with 80. Once again, I'm going to center this, and then I'm going to move it. You'll notice that as I move it, whenever I hit the center of this box that I created, it's going to have some guidelines just to make it easier for me to actually get things in good alignment. I'm going to insert another text box, and I'm going to insert this one directly below that. And inside that text box, I'm going to put the text of my introduction. Once again, really small. Select this, and make this, we'll say, we're going to go with 32 for now. Now the margins are a little bit off, but what we're going to do to fix that is we're going to select everything. So to select multiple things at the same time, I'm going to hold Shift and then select all the different elements. So now that I have all the elements selected all at once, when I move, I can move it all at the same time. So that was holding Shift and then clicking on all the different elements. So I'm going to put this here. I'm going to now, because I have it all selected still, Control C to copy it. Then I'm going to paste it and drop it in right beneath. Now I can start to see that this is not necessarily going to fit everything the way that I wanted. I had 3 different sections here. So I'm going to have to make this introduction a little bit smaller. And we'll move this so that it's closer to the middle. Move this up here. And since I've decided that I'm going to make the introduction box smaller up here, I'm going to go ahead and just select this and delete it, just so that I have some consistency. All right. So yeah, this is all part of the don't repeat yourself. So I'm going to copy this again and paste it again and then drag it so that it's right beneath here. Now it's going off of the slide, but that's okay because it's going to be a little bit different sizes when we put in the introduction, or when we put in the hypothesis text and the text from methods. So I've got this here. I'm going to copy it again, paste it. Now I know that I wanted the center section to be a little bit wider. So instead of moving along with this center row, I'm going to do the or the center column. I'm going to do the right-hand column before I stretch that out. And put that there. Copy again, paste, and put this right underneath here. Now I know there's going to be 4 sections. I had in the original, I had 4 sections on the right-hand side, so I'm gonna deal with that 4th section once I resize things. All right, so I want this section to be a little bit wider, so I'm going to once again select all of this, and then now that I have it all selected, when I hover over this cursor here to expand, I'm going to be able to pull and drag this whole section, and we'll leave it right there. Now I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste, and we're going to drag that and put it underneath. All right. So before I move forward with the copying and pasting of the rest of the text, I just want to show, as I was dragging this around, you saw the guidelines, the little dashed lines that were popping up. Another way that you can make it a little bit easier as you're dragging around is to go to View and then Add Guides, add your grid lines, add a ruler. So now I can see things a little bit more with a little bit more measurement. All right. So now we're going to move on and start pasting in our information here. All right, so this section is going to be hypothesis, and we know that this section is going to be our methods. Over here, we've got our results, and here we have our discussion. Up top, our conclusion, our further research, and last but not least, our references. All right, so we're going to leave the acknowledgments section for last once we've resized everything. All right, so now let's go back and start grabbing in our other text. So we've got our hypothesis here, and you'll note that in this hypothesis text, it is rather than having just a huge block of text, it's broken up into an ordered list. And that's a good idea when you're putting these things together, because it will allow you to make it easier for the people that are looking at your poster to read all the different elements of it. It makes the information a little bit more structured. When people read a block of text, they start to get lazy, they start to doze off. You want to keep things broken up into sections. When it's bits and chunks that they're trying to digest, it makes it a lot easier for them to look at the information that you're presenting and understand what it is without getting too distracted, too overwhelmed. All right, so I'm going to make this 40 point. 40 point looks like a good size, so I'm going to go ahead and click this Format Painters tool, and I'm going to do the same thing to this to make this 40 point. Oh, now that made it too big, so now we know we should probably go, let's see what 36 looks like. 36 looks a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to 36. I'm going to select all of this, and then I'm going to use the cursor to move it down beneath the introduction text. Okay. I just want to make sure, yeah, 36. All right, so now we're going to go and grab our methods. And the methods, very similarly, are in a numbered list. Got a couple of different sections, and both of the different sections are ordered. So you've got two different layers of structure in this section. There's the sample collection section, and then also the sample analysis. So both of those sections are organized a little bit more than just paragraph form. We're going to move this up, and it's probably going to be just a little too much, which means we're going to need to expand some of this. All right, so much like I did before, I'm going to hold on to Shift. I'm going to select all of these other parts. I'm going to expand this just a little bit to the right, and then I'm going to expand it a little bit to the left. And that did a little bit. Going to reduce this a little. That's not really doing enough. So we're going to have to go ahead and we're going to have to change the size of this text, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal. We're going to drop it down to 32 point and see how that looks. .32, I think the 32 is going to fit here. So we're going to do Format Painter, and right click on Format Painter again. So Format Painter is really just copying whatever formatting style you had for a particular section and just replicating that into the new section. I'm going to wait for my computer to catch up here. while I'm waiting on that, I'm going to go and grab the conclusion. I'm going to save the images for last because the images are going to take a little bit more finesse. All right. So here we have the conclusion. Go back, paste that in, select it, and make that 32. Going to go back in and grab the further research section, copy that, make this 32. Going to copy all of this so that we can move it up so that it's just beneath that conclusion. And since we're here, we're going to go ahead and do the references as well. Grabbed a little bit too much there, but we're just going to cut out that last section after I paste it. Alright, so we're going to cut out the acknowledgments, select all of this, and make it 32. Select all of this, and with the cursor, we're going to move this up so that it's just below the further research section. And since I'm here now, I'm going to go ahead and copy this and then paste it so that we now have our acknowledgments section ready to go. Alright, now before we get to the images, I'm going to move these sections up, the hypothesis and the methods. And it looks like it is just going to barely not fit, so we have a little bit of wiggle room up top, and we're going to use that wiggle room. And since we did that over on that side, we're going to do it on this whole section. So I'm going to select all these different pieces, all of the headers, all of the text blocks, and we're going to move those up so that they're in line. All right. And since we're here and we have this selected, I'm going to stretch this out just a little. So it'll give us a little bit more room. When we have the acknowledgement section. All right. Okay, we are now ready to start putting in the images. Now, I already have the images ready to go, so I'm going to cut this out, delete it entirely, and then start, actually going to drag this a little bit because it looks like it's not quite in line. Okay, that's in line now. That's in line. Since we made those sections smaller, I'm going to go ahead and make these a little bit smaller too. Alright, okay. Alright, so now we're going to insert in our images. So I'm going to go to Insert Pictures. I have all these pictures already set up. I'm going to find them here. They're in this folder. So we're going to start with Figure 1. Insert it. We're going to move it right here. And we're going to make this a little bit smaller. And then we're going to insert a small text box so that you can actually get the caption. Alright, and so let's go back into this and find the text for Figure 1. And here we go. Now, because this is a caption, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. You'll see here I've got a special character. It didn't paste as well as I would have liked it to. This is basically just a dot. I'm not going to address that at the moment because it's a little bit outside of the scope of what we're trying to do here, and I want to make sure that I'm wrapping up. Alright, so I'm going to move the caption so that it's right below that image. I'm going to copy them both, paste them. Now I know that I've got 3 different images here, so I'm going to be just doing a copy and paste again. And I know they're not quite the same size, so I'm just going to move this off to the side for now. So I'm going to click on this image, I'm going to right click on it, I'm going to go to Change Picture, and I'm going to replace it with the image for Figure 2. And click Insert. So that's a little bit smaller than we'd like, but we're going to go with it for now. Make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to go back into this text and find Figure 2. Copy it. And paste. We're going to use Format Painter to make this the same size. I'm going to move this right underneath there and then make it a little bit wider. And because this is actually going to be the size of our third figure, I'm going to go ahead and just copy this and paste it so that we already have it set and ready to go. And I'm going to move it right underneath there, try to get it aligned. I'm going to take these other images, this third image, and I'm going to move it down here, and we'll deal with that in a second once we get there. Alright, so we want to once again replace this. Go to right click, change picture from a file, and do Figure 3 and insert. Get our text, copy it, and when I paste here, I'm going to paste We'll see keep source formatting. It's not going to quite let me do a merge here like it would in Word. So I'm going to go ahead and still just do paste. And then we will do the format painter. Select some text here, format painter, and then format paint that. All right. So as we can see, we're going to have to move the discussion section. Click off of this because I had too much selected there. We're going to have to move the discussion section just a little bit further down. All right. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the discussion section. So the discussion section had two different images, and those images had the figure captions to the right-hand side. I'm going to move this. Now my further research section actually needs to move over to here, and I'm going to move that off to the side so I can grab it easily. All right, there's that. We're going to copy this and paste it. Oops, pasted the wrong thing. I'm going to copy that text box. All right, there we go. And we're going to resize it so that it goes in well. We're going to find the text for figure 4, copy it, paste, voila. Make it a little bit bigger. All right. And then last but not least, we have figure 5. Copy and paste. And then resize this. Do the format painter. Format painter. Just do font size 28. Okay, so that's all set. All right, so now if we go back, I'm going to go back to the original, and let's look to see how close we are. All right, so we've got the discussion, we've got the results, we've got the conclusion, we've got the further research, we've got the references, we've got the acknowledgments. We've got everything we need to put some images here, and we need to deal with this further research section so that it's actually in line. Now, as you can see from what I have here, my spacing and my font size is a little bit off from what she was able to fit with her font size. And so we're not going to be able to deal with that immediately here in this session, but I'm at least going to deal with getting this figure 1 in the further research section handled. I think we can at least try here to make this a little bit smaller, see if that will give us a little bit more room to work with. So we're going to make all these 28, same size as the the captions for the discussion section. Okay, so now that I made this down to 28, it looks like we're probably going to be able to fit in these images. Make this a little bit longer. Well, we're going to need to go ahead and just squeeze this down a little bit. And then once we have it squeezed down, now I should be able to go ahead and insert these pictures. So I'm going to go and find my pictures. Got them methods 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to see if it'll let me insert all 4 at once. And it does. Alright, so we're going to be able to fit them in there. We're going to have to make this width a little bit smaller in order to do that. Alright, and we're going to select all of this. And move it up. Alright, and so since we changed the font over there, we're going to change the font here too. 28. And 28. So now that we have all of that, we're going to move these sections. Actually, we're just going to move the further research section. So I'm going to click off this so that I'm not selecting everything. Select the further research sections, move those up, and then I'm going to select this text box, drag it down, and squeeze it in. And that should be enough space for us to actually include this further research image. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to make a little bit more room. Looks like it'll be enough. Take this caption, move it over, and since we've got a little bit more space here, I'm going to stretch it out. And since it looks like there's a little bit of need for a little bit more margin, we're going to drop that down a little bit. Okay, now we are close. What we're going to do now is we're going to shrink this section a little and delete this text because it wasn't the text we were ever going to use. We're going to go back into there and look to see what we had for our acknowledgments. Copy this text and we're going to paste it. Put it over here. Select that text and we'll go with the 28 that we had been using. Need to insert our acknowledgement image. Here's our logo. We'll insert it. And then we just have two more logos that need to go up at the top. We'll insert those right now. We've got our logo one here, and then our second logo here, and then we're pretty close to done. I'm going to fix this little thing that I had accidentally dragged over. Center it. All right, that's all set. Now the only thing that's left here, as you would have seen earlier, this image here is all in black. That's because I accidentally grabbed a bitmap file when I was first grabbing it. So I actually have a replacement file that's in a JPEG format. So I'm going to replace that from the file, go down and find it, insert it, and boom. So here we are. We have all the different parts. We've got our introduction, hypothesis, methods. We've got our results, our discussion. We have all of our tables and all the figure captions that go along with each figure. And it's looking good. It's not the exact image that we had here that we were working with from the start, but it's pretty close. Obviously, once you've gotten to this stage, you've got a lot of time to go ahead and, resize things so that they're the widths that you want, so that your spacings look a little bit better. And when you're doing these spacings, you're not subject to just doing one at a time. If I go over here, I can select all of this stuff just like we were before, and just respace it all at the same time. Part of the whole don't repeat yourself part. I went a little bit out of the margins there, but here we go. And once you have it going, you have some time. You can make the little fixes that you need to have a really crisp looking presentation. But from what you have now today, this should be enough to get you going, to get you started. If you get stuck on something, go ahead and look at those resources that I pointed out in the earlier slides that you can find at the VPS page. You can go to On the Job for some conversation about what to do with the actual content. There's a good article on how to write your abstract. You can use some of the concepts there to work out what you actually want to include for your content. But from here, I think that you've got the tools that you need. So go ahead and put together your poster. Good luck.